Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to another video. This is a paid request from Crystal. Thank you so much for that. I know Crystal has one more movie after this. I'll get to that as soon as I can. Sorry about the wait. For anyone interested in requesting any type of videos, whether it be a topic, a reaction, a movie review, re-review, random thoughts, commentaries, reactions, video game playthroughs for an hour or full playthrough, whatever the case may be, feel free. PayPal's usually the best bet. Do have a Patreon and CashApp. Links are down below in the info box for that, but PayPal's usually the best bet. I'll get to as soon as I can. And this is for Pet Sematary II from 1992, which is kind of nice because I had not seen this film for a while, so it was nice to revisit this film again. And the short answer is I liked it. I liked the film. I do have issues with it, in particular with the third act. I think the third act, it kind of goes off the rails a bit. But I do like Pet Sematary 2. Pet Sematary 1 has a bit more of the emotional feels, but for me, this one's a bit more rewatchable because it's not as much of a bummer of a movie. Plus, you know, much more of an uplifting ending, and which is my own personal taste. And Clancy Brown's a lot of fun. He's a lot of fun. He makes it at least worth a watch. I do not think it's a 4.9 out of 10 bad. I really do not. Now, it cost about, I guess, $8 million. It made $17 million at the box office. Came out August of 1992. I believe this is the film Edward Furlong did right after Terminator 2. So he did T2, he did this one. Then we'll go on to films like Brain Scan, American History X, a film called Animal Factory. And that was when he was really getting heavy into drugs and did stuff like The Crow 4 and crap like that. He was going to be in Terminator 3. They hired him for it, but then he went on a drug binge, overdosed, and then by the time he woke up, realized he was fired. So they went with Nick Stahl on Terminator 3. But Edward Furlong, I don't hate Edward Furlong. I do like Eddie Furlong. I do. I think he does a good job in Terminator 2. T2, he's good. He does fine here, just like he did fine in Brain Scan. He's not the best kid actor, but I don't mind him. I don't mind him. Now, is he Sean Astin in The Goonies? Elijah Wood in The Good Son? No. I think those would have been better. But I thought Eddie did fine. Anthony Edwards, who was in Top Gun. He was in this underrated film called Miracle Mile from the late 80s. He plays the dad. I liked him. I would say he was one of my favorite characters. Because my favorite character is Clancy Brown, who is the sheriff, who does get brought back, and he's having the time of his life. I guess this had a Blu-ray from Screen Factory. I don't have that, but apparently it has features, interview with Edward Furlong and interview with Clancy Brown, which that's cool. I like to see those features. And it's directed by Mary Lambert, who did the first movie. Now, from what I understand, the original idea was Pet Sematary made a lot of money. A lot of critics, even Stephen King, who's a stickler, he seemed to like it, which is rare for him to like something based on his work. It did make quite a bit of money, so the studio definitely wanted a sequel. Mary Lambert at first wanted the girl from the first film, Ellie Creed. She's the sole survivor. What's going to happen with her? For some reason that didn't pan out, so I don't know if this is true, but from what I read, the studio wanted a teenage boy as the lead. So, hey, Edward Furlong, T2 was a huge hit. Get him to do this film. Hey, he did a part 2 on that one, he'll do a part 2 for this one. And it made money. I mean, it doubled its budget. That's a little bit of a profit. Did not make nearly as much as the first one. So it made a profit, but obviously not enough. I'm surprised there was not a Pet... Well, I guess it was. What the hell was that called? Pet Sematary Bloodlines? I never saw the film. So I don't know. Except everybody said it was crap. It was shit. I never saw it. No one requested it, but... This one... I like the cast. I like some of the sense of humor. This seemed like a funnier movie. Mainly because of Clancy Brown. Again, because the first one is such a downer with the little baby getting run over and the dad's like, no! And then like this little kid go around murdering people and the whole ending. But I'm fine with that because it didn't feel like it was copying the same movie. It had the same setting in Maine. You know, they had the Pet Sematary. It's in continuity because the Creed family are mentioned. There's a bit where the characters go by the house because you see Creed on the mailbox. Anthony Edwards visits this doctor who he replaced, this vet he replaced. And that guy mentioned years ago he worked on a cat named Church, who was a cat in the first movie. So it is in continuity. I can appreciate that. I like the setup of the film, where you're in a movie within a movie. Eddie, I won't call him Eddie. Eddie Furlong's, his mom is an actress, worked on a horror movie, and sadly there's an on-set accident where she gets electrocuted. With Sally, I could buy that because there's been a lot of bad accidents. I mean, Alec Baldwin, look what just happened with that, with Rust. Even, the John Landis stuff with the helicopters. The Crow, of course. So, I thought that was effective. Nice setup for your characters. So, your characters are in a sympathetic position. Him and his dad, they moved to Maine, away from the city. While there, Eddie is trying to deal with things, but he's not dealing with them the best way. He meets this kid, this overweight kid named Drew, who has this dickhead stepdad who's the sheriff, played by Clancy Brown. And Clancy Brown steals the show. He is the whole effing show. Like I love, the accent he had, the main accent, and hey, Drew, buddy. And like he is abusive, you could tell, but even before he changes because of the supernatural events, he's not one note. What I mean by that is, because like I said, it's been a while since I've seen it. So I'm trying to remember, did Clancy Brown, was he like just slapping people all the time? No. Like he was the sheriff, he wanted respect. But I'm glad they didn't overdo it where every 30 seconds he's slapping the kid and, doing this. So it didn't feel as much of a cartoon. It's just that he's a stepdad who's a complete dick. And you can still feel the tension because it's Clancy Brown from Highlander and plenty of other films, Blue Steel, Buckaroo Banzai. So, for example, there's a bit where he wants the kid to turn the TV off, and the kid's acts like he wants to turn Clancy Brown off. And he's like, hey, thought we don't talk about that weight problem of yours. And then the kid's like, hey, I'm sorry I'm not a stun muffin like you. And Clancy Brown gets serious, like, you really want to go with that hay business? Now, if it was a cartoonish, it'd be like immediately 180, ready to break the kid's neck, and then it'd be like cartoonish, and be like, well, I mean, that does happen, Sally, to be fair, so maybe not that cartoonish, but it's Clancy Brown, so you don't need to oversell it at that point. just his face, his presence sells the dangerous part of this guy. But then, if you go 100% right off the bat, there's nowhere for the character to go. So I like that. Because the character goes in crazy ways later. So you save the better part for later on. I do like Anthony Edwards. I've always liked him. I liked him in Top Gun. He was good. Miracle Mile, he was great. Revenge of the Nerds, he was good in that. I think he was in the second film as well. I don't think he was in that a lot, but I think he was in the second film. And I thought I liked the idea he was a vet. Just made it seem a bit different. So it didn't feel like the same as the first film. Plus, because of his occupation, be able to test the dog and a way for the characters to figure out a bit faster and what's going on, what's happening. I'm a cat person, so nice to see little pretty, kittens there. I remember the scene horrifying me when I first saw this, where, well, I guess that's spoilers. The plot is, like I said, the mom has died, they moved here, they're trying to deal with stuff. The dad has a new job as his vet of this town. Eddie Furlong meets this kid. They deal with bullies. The main bully is Jared Rushton. And I'm like, why does this kid look so familiar? He was in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. He was one of Matt Frewer's kids. He was the guy, the kid, who became friends with the big ant. And like really bonded with that ant. And had like the cap. I'm like, oh, it's that guy. I don't think I ever knew till now it was that guy. No wonder he looked familiar. And they definitely made me hate the guy because he steals the cute kitten, rides off, puts it in a pet cemetery with it trapped in a cage. I already want to beat the shit out of this guy. I want him to get his ass kicked, or more so. You piece of shit. Leave kittens alone. When you mess with kittens, you mess with me. I mean it. I don't like when people mess with kittens. In real life, it pisses me off. It makes me violent. It makes me angry. It makes me John Wick. I may not shoot as well as John Wick, but I'm going to shoot. And not with my dick. I'm going to shoot with fists of fury or guns of fury. Equilibrium style. Don't fuck around with kittens, or you don't fuck around with me. There was a documentary about that, or there's some person on the interwebs that killed kittens and stuff, and the doc was like the search for this person using whatever means of the interweb, like don't mess with cats or something. Never saw it, because I'm like, nah, I don't think I can handle that. I guess if it was a paid request, sure, but I don't know if I'd be able to handle that. Because that stuff just... I mean, it's funny. Well, it's not funny. It's weird I'm mentioning that because, like, right now, as I'm recording this whole thing with Peanut the squirrel, where in New York, this guy had this place where animals, take care of. One of them was this squirrel named Peanut that became, TikTok, Instagram, got very popular. Dickheads in the government went in to seize it, and then because of course you steer it because you have 10 people, so it bites one of them, they took it in and euthanized it to check for rabies and killed it. I'm like, there's never been a squirrel with rabies in the history of the United States, and you mean a bunch of people with who knows what acting like this guy's a terrorist? You get scared, and that's like if I went and scared my cat and it scratched me, I better euthanize it. It's... Oh, that stuff pisses me off. It makes my piss boil, man. It does. I hate, so idiots. Sound like Stimpy, or Red, whatever. Idiots. They sound like ran idiots. Anyway, pissing me off. So, and it's a real kitten they use, but thankfully you could tell they film in a way to keep it safe. Like a kitten's being chased by a dog, but you could tell they film it so it's never in the same scene. The kitten, when the guy grabs it, you tell like, okay, it's done in a way to make it safe. You tell they didn't try to take chances, not like Milo and Otis. And I like seeing kittens. I like kittens. Yes, I'm one of those that I rarely go on Instagram, but if I do, I sift through like kitten videos and then I go to bed. So it makes me hate the bad guy, the bully. I like Clancy Brown. I like Anthony Edwards. Edward Furlong is okay. Sometimes a line delivery was a bit awkward. Like when he's talking to the other kid, he's like, "But get a grip, man. You're freaking me out." It's like, okay, that wasn't smooth, but it's Eddie Furlong. So, of course, one thing leads to another, and Clancy Brown has these pet rabbits. The dog, beautiful looking dog. I'm not good with breeds, so I don't know what breed it is, but it's a beautiful looking dog. Gets too close, and Clancy Brown gets pissed, shoots at it with a gun. Drew finds it. And sadly, I don't think this kid really acted again. But the kid who plays Drew, I thought he did fine. He was likable enough. He was natural enough. So it's too bad it didn't work. He might have worked more, but I don't know what else he did. But it's sad that you never, didn't see him again. Finds his dog, wants Eddie's help, and they go to the pet cemetery. Now, of course, Eddie doesn't believe in this, but I guess for Drew, it's like, well, I'm going to bury my dog, Zoe. Zoe. Is it Zoe or Zowie? I think it's Zowie. I just figured, well, I got to bury it some way. Might as well do it here. And then lo and behold, the dog comes back. Then, later on, there's an issue with Clancy Brown. He ends up getting killed, and they make the bad decision to bury him, and then he comes back. And then the movie escalates from there. Now, it's not too gory of a film, but there's a couple decent makeup effects, like Clancy Brown's wounds on his neck, because he died because the dog chewed a piece of his neck out. When Clancy Brown comes back, he's having a ball. He's been over the top. He's been fun. While he's like eating messy and just tossing the stuff. Or someone pulls a gun on him. Actually, the Drew. And it doesn't fire. And it's like, oh, these shells? You missing something, Drew? Or when he deals with this bully, and the bully had an answer, I'm just screwing with him, just fucked with him. So Clancy Brown takes the bite. What are you doing? I'm just fucking with you. There's a bit with a drill. Hey, no brain, no pain. Think about it. He's a lot of fun. So he's definitely the MVP of the movie. And Anthony Edwards, I like that. It's strange. His character really isn't prominent in the first half of the film. Lee appears from time to time, but it's weird how in the first half it's definitely more Eddie's story. Then the second half is much more his dad's story. That was a bit different. I like that the dad wasn't a worthless guy and that, okay, they got Anthony Edwards, but he doesn't do anything. No, he does quite a bit. He does quite a bit. How do I do this without giving away spoilers? I like the cast, and I like some of the sense of humor it had. I do like the film, but there's some weird stuff in this that I kind of go, why? And like I said, the third act kind of goes off the off the reservation, so to speak. I got to get into spoilers to do that. So it does have some devilish moments. I mean, the dog does kill the kittens, and you see the aftermath, which I remember that was screwed me up when I was a kid when I saw that. Because, oh no, those kittens. But one does survive. It's the one that Eddie took beforehand. So at least one survived, so that's good. But when I saw the remains of those kittens, I'm like, oh. But there's some weird ass stuff. There's a bit where Eddie starts having these nightmares, and there's like a nightmare he has where part woman, part dog is in the chair. Then he sees the dog in the chair. Then he sees his mom, and then when he reaches over, the room extends. And it's funny because I noticed there's a Friday 13 Part 8 Chasey Takes Madame poster in the room. I don't know why, that just stuck out to me. But what was more weird is, was that a thing in the first film that they were given like weird dreams? Or sex dreams? There's a bit where the dog is like in Anthony Edwards' room, and then like he's sleeping, and then the screen turns to blue, and he starts imagining a sex scene. But then it's a sex scene where you get the titties, but it's a wolf's head. Well, as you know, I mentioned this to CT of Deadpet. He said hashtag wolf tits. Well, yeah, it does. I didn't want to see that though. I'm like, what the hell was this? I mean, is this like would that be a furry? Because it's a wolf head but titties. So is that a furry's wet dream? Or do dead wolves, zombie wolves, give people wet dreams? Like, that was so weird that he had that dream in the first place, and why is that a thing? I don't know. I don't know why. I didn't know that's what they did. I didn't know that they gave people nightmares by, I don't know, osmosis. So I thought that was a weird thing. The nightmare scenes were a bit weird. I don't really think they were needed. I mean, like, what the fuck? The second issue was, sometimes I didn't mind the guitar score, but sometimes I thought it was a bit inappropriate. Like when the camera's panning and you see like the dead remains of the kittens, but then the score is the I'm like, I don't know if that's really the best score to use for that. I don't know. Is that really the... I don't think the guitar score need to be used the entire time. I think it has its moments, but I think there's moments where an actual score would have worked better for the movie. I think at times they use the guitar a bit too much. I do like the stuff with Clancy Brown. I do like the more change of his character where he had these pet rabbits, but now he's killed them all and used them as meat for food. Though I did the way he's like freaking out the bully with the motorcycle, and then he screws up and he's like, whoops. When Anthony Edwards shoots him, he's like, ow. He play a lot for fun. I mean, maybe it takes away the scares. Maybe that's the thing. People really did feel the first Pet Sematary was scary, so they watched this and they found it a lot less scary. So maybe that's why it had such a bad reputation. But to me, I don't get scared by movies, so I just, at least if they're entertaining, then that's a plus for me. I did the stuff with him and his stepson and the wife. I did like that stuff. where he's chasing after them, and there's a car chase, and pretty sadly runs their car into this potato truck, and they're dead, and just like, I didn't mind. Like, the mom seemed like a good person, Drew seemed like a good kid, and yes, sometimes good people die, and I felt a bit sorry for that, and Clancy Brown, and credit, how Pet Sematary 1 was a pretty grisly movie, but it still didn't lose that. It killed kittens. It killed, innocent kid. So it's not like it was completely watered down, is my point. So they still kept a bit of that in, which I appreciate. My favorite scene is the confrontation between Anthony Edwards and Clancy Brown. I said this is spoilers. Anthony Edwards, like I said, he becomes the star of the second half, where he kills the dog, he has to deal with Clancy Brown and shoots him in the head. I feel the most sorry for him because he had nothing to do with this. He didn't bury the shit. He just moved to this town, is doing his job as a vet, and now he's got to deal with all this crap. So he's the guy that I feel the most sorry for. He's the complete innocent in this situation. Even has to deal with that weird, crazy doctor. Because as bit again, he took blood sample from the dog, and hey, how come it seems like this dog's dead? And he visits the doctor that used to work there. And then he's just crazy. He's like, "You get out of that town." And then, like, he throws something at him, and he's like, I'm like, why is this guy so crazy? Why is he nuts? Well, I get that, you're doomed, but he's got to be nuts too. So, he's got to deal with morose Furlong, a dead ex-wife, weird dead dog, Clancy Brown, this crazy, he got all this. Anthony Edwards, man, he got a lot on his plate. I thought my biggest critique of the film is the third act, where there's some stuff that just doesn't make sense to me. I don't understand, why does Clancy Brown save Edward Furlong's life when he's almost killed by the bully? There's a point where the bully's ready to put his face in the damn bicycle wheel, and Clancy Brown saves him and then tells him to go home. And I'm like, why? If this is him being evil, why don't you just kill them both, or let that happen, then kill the bully? And then he starts helping Edward Furlong. I guess, I don't know, I guess they kind of answer that with Anthony Edwards asks, why did you dig up my wife? And he goes, because I want to fuck her. So I guess that's the reason. I guess I answered my question. But, because there was only one other scene where he mentions he used to know that girl, the Eddie Furlong's mom. I guess that's why I forgot, because he only mentioned one other time. So maybe a couple more times to have a bit of that through line. But the biggest one is, I start really disliking Furlong's character in the third act. I really start disliking him. Because he has to know that his new friend and his mom died from the truck, because it's all in the news. If it's all in the news and Anthony Edwards sees it on the news, there's no way that Eddie Furlong would not know. And he couldn't put two and two together of, we brought this guy back from the dead. Now they're dead. And the bully who's picking on me is missing. Is he really that out of it to not understand any of that, know any of that, realize any of that? And then he does bury his mom. Then he's sitting waiting, and there's this other girl who's kind of a housekeeper. She's looking through the mom's clothes, but she hasn't really done anything that wrong. She screams bloody murder, and then Eddie's kind of like smiling, and he goes up, and you see the girl's dead over here because Anthony Edwards comes into the attic and sees it, then looks over and sees Eddie with his mom. And I'm sitting there going, so he sees that this girl who's innocent is murdered. I get that you want your mom back, but still, I don't give a shit about you anymore. Like, I think that either that needed to be written a lot better or it needed to be filmed a lot better in terms of the build-up, in terms of maybe this not being hypnotized or being mesmerized, but like something else where we really see his ordeal and a conflict of interest and being pulled in different directions, and that there's being confused, being... There's a lot more that could have been done with that, and I don't think they did a good job. So I'm like, well, this guy sucks too. I'm like, that girl's dead because of Eddie Furlong. It's your fault. So he doesn't. We never see him feel guilt or sorrow because of that. So I'm sitting there going, why should I give a shit whether Eddie Furlong lives or dies? I care about Anthony Edwards more, but not Eddie Furlong. I think ever since I first saw that, that always bothered me. I'm like, why should I give a shit about this guy? Well, because he lost his mom. So, yeah, I get that, but this innocent woman is dead and you don't give a rat's ass. So I don't give a rat's ass about you. And hell, Anthony Edwards has more of a reaction. Like, Anthony Edwards plays it right. And that's why, like, he is the character I root for in this movie. And then the bully, Clancy Brown had buried him, and the bully came back and fights Eddie Furlong. I'm like, I don't care. It's hard for me to care about Furlong's character right now. Kills the bully. And then for some reason, the mom who has come back, she just stands there to be melted. I'm like, why? Why does she stand there just to melt? Why does she just stand there? All this time to be brought back to life and you just stand there, and you lit everything on fire too. You light everything on fire and then you just stand there. Now, if there was something where Furlong, he has an axe, but does nothing to her. Instead, she starts talking more campier and campier. But I feel like he hit something and it made her trapped, and she couldn't move. Or, okay, Furlong has to fight his own mom, which is even more of a mindfuck. But none of that happens. So she just stands there for no reason while Eddie and the dad get out safely. And she just stands there to be melted in a fire that she started. That just doesn't make a lick of sense at all. And that's what I mean, like, with that stuff making me dislike Furlong's character because of the behavior they have him showcased, lack of guilt, lack of sympathy, the weird part wolf titty dreams that apparently wolves, when they're dead, give you wet dreams. There are issues I have with the film. Again, the guitar score I think was a bit overused. So I do have issues with the film. But up until then, I didn't mind Eddie Furlong. I do like Anthony Edwards. I do like Clancy Brown. He's having a lot of fun. I don't think the film was too boring. I think the initial setup of the film worked well for the emotion of the characters. There's some good work with the animals, whether it be the wolves having to jump through here, the way the animals were controlled. Valiant effort. Some fun lines. I love the no brain, no pain bit. So there's enough entertainment to be had, and I liked it. It's not a 4.9 bad. There are issues I have with it, but I still don't mind it. So therefore you will. So with that said, thanks for watching. Take care, and we'll see you guys later. Bye-bye for now.